Hello, everyone. My name is Jacob Sule. I am the Executive Director of I Read to Live initiative. Today, I'll be your host for the Community Enrichment Project Youth Conference. It is a great honor to be here. I would also like to welcome our panelists and our live stream audience for joining us for this occasion. It is not only an honor but a privilege to be here with you all today. This dialogue would not only be a lively and constructive discussion, it will focus on peace and peace building, but it will also have a diverse array of perspectives from around the world. But before we begin, I want you all to get to meet our panel. We have a very diverse panelist, like I said, and I will begin by introducing our panelists. Panelists, can you please introduce yourself and share what brought you here today and share your thoughts about this event? But before we get the panelists on, I would like you all who are joining this chat to also share your thoughts with us, and hopefully we can have a very engaging and fruitful conversation. Thank you so much. First on the list of panelists, we have Anthony Anon. Thank you, Anthony. Can you tell us briefly where you're joining us from? Oh, I think we might be having a little bit of. We might be having a little bit of.
Yes, good evening.
Okay, I think we might be having a little bit of.
Okay, I think we might be having a little bit of.
I will just go straight into providing
I
a
will
background.
just go straight into providing a background.
We have our other parties join us location. So today we have a great panel of youth activists who are here with us today, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on the topic of today's dialogue. Before we begin, I would like to give a bit background of today's event, which is tagged Achieving Peace and Peace Building for a Better Future. As we all know, according to the United Nations, the UN Day is being marked on the 24th of October to mark the anniversary of when the United Nations Charter came into force, which is being celebrated every year. This offers an opportunity to amplify our common agenda and reaffirm the purposes and principles of the United Nations Charter that have guided us for the past 77 years rather. Usually, this event is held at the General Hall of the UN, which is headquartered in UN in New York, and a concert is being held to mark this auspicious day. As the world begins to recover from the global pandemic, the 2021 concert represents a call to strengthen international cooperation in the interest of both nations and people for a more peaceful and prosperous future for all of us. This year, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres shared a few words in honor of this celebration day, and I'll take a few moments to read his congratulatory message to us. The United Nations is a product of hope, the hope and resolve following the Second World War to move beyond global conflict to global cooperation. Today, our organization is being tested like never before, but the United Nations was made for moments like this. Now, and more than ever, we need to bring our lives, we need to bring to life the values and principles of the UN Charter in every corner of the world by giving peace a chance and ending conflict that jeopardizes lives, future, and global progress. By working to end extreme poverty, reduce inequality, and rescue the sustainable development goals. By safeguarding our planet, including by breaking our addiction to fossil fuel and kickstarting the renewable energy revolution. And finally, by balancing the scales of opportunity and freedom of women and girls and ensure human rights for all. As we mark the UN Day, let us renew our hope and conviction in what humanity can achieve when we work as one in global solidarity. Thank you to the UN Secretary General for that inspirational message. Now it's time to turn the conversation to our panelists who have exciting things to share about the great work they are doing around building peace and how they believe we all should take steps towards achieving greater peace for all. Once again, to our viewers joining this conversation from different parts of the world, we're happy to have you. And we will begin the conversation with Anthony. Anthony, you have the floor. Okay, I think we're still kind of struggling with Anthony. I'm going to turn the floor to Grace. Grace, thank you so much for joining us today. Yes, Grace, can you share your thoughts about the theme for today's event? Yes, Grace.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'd just like to start off by saying a little bit about myself. I am currently living in California. I am a high school student, and I have sought to
a little bit about myself.
share information I felt needed to convey. Since the pandemic, I saw the atrocities that encompassed the world and began to advocate, where I later became a member of the UNA USA. Later, I created a blog, Zoomers Unite, to discuss significant issues that I felt were neglected. And through my advocacy efforts, I've been fortunate enough to aid my school into taking actions to solve underlying issues. You're muted.
Thank you so much, Grace, for that. Now I will turn the mic to Mackenzie. Yes, Mackenzie, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Once again, I just want to kind of introduce myself a little bit.
Today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Once again, I'm Mackenzie Duffy. I am a junior in high school near Philadelphia. Basically, recently, over the past year, 2 years, I've been working with a local nonprofit called Mensah International to promote girls' education in Malawi, which is one of the most impoverished countries in the world. And just over the past year or two, we've really been working to build up that community and really inspire them from within.
Thank you so much, Mackenzie, for that. I will now turn it on to Sam and Zeder.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Zita Tibeme. I'm a biology undergraduate, currently doing pre-med, and I'm also the founder of a charity organization based in Africa called Smiles Africa, which is aimed at reaching out to orphans, widows, and the less privileged all over Africa, giving them a befitting life, giving them opportunities, giving them hope to live again. And I'm so excited being on this panel today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, Samuel.
My name is Samuel Kwame Mensah, and I am a storyteller and also the founder of a Pan-Africanist organization called Umbrella the African Child, also known as UTAC. We are based in Nigeria and Ghana. We are passionate about children, and we aim to provide and support resources for them to thrive. And currently, we are working with children in the northern part of Ghana, providing them with books and promoting literacy in the village. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, Samuel, for that. I will turn the mic now to Maurice. Yes, Maurice.
Thank you for having me. Well, I'm Mauricio. I am an undergraduate marine biologist, a student. I work with...
Thank you so much, Samuel, for that. I will turn the mic now to Maurice. Yes, Maurice.
Okay, thank you for having me. Well, also I'm part of the Antarctic Youth Coalition that aims to take the Antarctic values to every city in the world. We are based in Punta Arenas, that is the southern city of Chile. And really, that's it.
Thank you so much.
So much for having me.
Thank you so much, Maurice. For viewers at home, you can see we have a very rich and diverse panelists today who would share their thoughts about their work on what they're doing in their individual countries to build peace and to build long-lasting peace for the global society.
Maybe that's it.
On to Tony, if
For having me.
yes, Tony.
Thank you so much. You can see we have work on what they're doing in peace for the global.
Stay having
Tony, if
Anthony. So without wasting more time, I would ask Grace to get started with our presentation. Yes, Grace, you have the floor.
Hi. So regarding peacekeeping and building, the relationship between peace and nations is dependent on multilateral efforts, entailing a clear set of objectives to instill peace, which is the fundamental principle but is absolutely dire. Likewise, adequate cooperation and compromise is the essence of peace building, since it demands a prior need of open-mindedness and commitment. In recent years, we have observed that leaders and individual governments seek to maintain peace through short-term policies rather than focusing on long-term commitment. Additionally, when repairing broken conditions, governments must create order to form rule of law centered around the framework of improving, while simultaneously protecting and preserving individual rights, since they do not triumph the journey to establishing a stable, well-secured environment. That said, countries who perpetuate traditional attitudes need to be gradually changed and handled with the utmost delicacy if their ideologies are preventing growth. For instance, recently we have seen protests erupt throughout Iran over the death of Mensah Amini, who died at the hands of Iranian authorities for not conforming to the hijab mandate. Though it is significant that peacekeepers and peacemakers are taking a stance, not remaining neutral in the matter towards those who are resistant to peace. When aiming to create everlasting peace, the target should be the grassroots level, the people. Many organizations and groups have the power to carry out a variety of activities for the greater good, while working alongside local governments to endorse humanitarian efforts and democratization to achieve greater impact. Though sometimes peacekeeping and peace building altogether can feel hopeless. As the world burns with hatred, violence, and divide around us, we question, is all this effort really worth it? What is the point? That is exactly how many felt in the 1960s. In the midst of the Cold War, tensions with the Soviet Union and the United States were almost at their breaking point. The fight against communism and Western ideals were at their all-time most tenacious point. When many feared for their lives, seen by the mass production of bomb shelters, which significantly escalated with the events of the Bay of Pigs fiasco and the Cuban Missile Crisis. However, in the election of 1968, President Richard Nixon came to power, shifting the political mood. His election served as a turning point, a way for many Americans to feel a sense of hope they thought to be lost. He, alongside President of the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, through much cooperation, were able to promote and fulfill their foreign policy of détente, or the easing of tensions. Both men cooperated with one another, accomplishing their agenda and making pivotal changes with the passage of the Nuclear Arms Reduction Treaty, or SALT. Furthermore, the people felt easy and jovial, thus settling the heightened fear. With the current conditions of the world, it sometimes feels like peace is impossible to achieve. Nation against nation, people against people, will it ever end? The target should be the youth, since we can foster the most change. Making the youth not subordinates, but equals in the efforts to break generational cycles by combating bigotry and inhumane actions in hopes to create peace and ease tensions is essential. Rather than fighting with us, stand and walk with us. It is often that we, the youth, are deemed ignorant and told that we are too young or have lack of experience in order to institute change. But they are wrong. Each and every one of us has a voice that serves as a beacon to convey a message that brings change. Winston Churchill, Abraham Lincoln, Greta Thunberg, Nelson Mandela were all one person. If they can do it, why can't we? Regardless of age, the youth are the future. We are the catalysts that have the potential to fuel change, being administrators that can foster economic growth, prosperity for future generations to come, while shifting the political and social climate. We hold power. Like Kofi Annan had claimed, young people should be at the forefront of global change and innovation. Empowered, they can be key agents for development and peace. Take a stance and embrace the fight, because there is something better for us waiting on the other side. A peaceful, tranquil world, which can only be achieved through effort. So try. It is intimidating to be in an environment where our ideas are so easily dismissed. So find someone who will listen. The day will come when we will inherit the responsibility to preserve and protect peace, democratic ideals, rights. So why not start now?
Wow. Thank you so much, Grace. Grace has just shared very important presentation about her work. And I picked up a couple of things from there. She's asked us that we don't have much time again on our hands. And we as young people must start now to begin to advocate for peace and peace building across the world. And then she also said that creating peace is essential. And we as young people have to be at the top front in striving to create peace. Thank you so much, Grace, for that wonderful presentation. I will turn the floor now to Maurice. Maurice, you have the floor.
I'm supposed to go after that? Okay. But I'm going to talk about Antarctica. So, after 200 years since its discovery, one main word comes to mind when naming the Antarctic continent: peace. From this pillar, Antarctica has been building the other values which take a pivotal role in this continent, like science and international cooperation. I firmly believe that these core values can be taken everywhere in the world. But first, how is it that these values keep to maintain peace or even achieve it? Well, I believe that focusing on science and knowledge is the key. Knowledge itself and its pursuit has always been one of humanity's most powerful drivers. And precisely this is what makes this continent peaceful. Everything that's done is with the aim of gaining knowledge and this altruistic approach of trying to make the world a better place. Maybe it can be said that it's the environmental conditions that have maintained Antarctica peaceful. But nowadays, if someone really wanted to fight for Antarctica, they could. So I believe that these values not only make Antarctica peaceful, but can be taken to other places. Most of the cities that have an entrance to Antarctica has been positively affected by these core values. Due to time issues, I will only explain the Chilean case, which is the case of Punta Arenas. But these same values can be seen in other countries too. In Punta Arenas, there are groups of people that take these values and apply them into their vision and mission. One of many examples is the Antarctic Youth Coalition, but you can also look at the Antarctic Youth. There is a preschool group, or even in some cases, the local governments boost these values in this region through local policies. Finally, the Antarctic Youth Coalition of Punta Arenas, the organization that I am here representing today, aims at promoting Punta Arenas into Antarctica. And with it come its values. Our group is transdisciplinary. It's made up of young artists, teachers, journalists, lawyers, tourism professionals, or even scientists like me, who from their areas seek to make the continent known and valued. In short, all these organizations are a reflection of peace that promotes the Antarctic Treaty, coming to touch the hearts of children and young people who seek to promote their legacy. It is everyone's duty to give them space and a voice in society so that from their passion, they become custodians of the heart of the planet, Antarctica. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Maurice, for that wonderful presentation. One other thing that resonates with Maurice's presentation is we all have a responsibility as young people to ensure that we make the world a peaceful and more prosperous place. Thank you so much. I appreciate that's your thoughts. For viewers who are also connected online, please feel free to send in your comments and questions, and I would pass them on to our panelists who would give their expertise on your questions. Now, we're going to listen to the presentation from Mackenzie. Yes, Mackenzie, you have the floor. Take it away.
Thank you. Peace begins with education. My name is Mackenzie Duffy, and during my sophomore year of high school, I got involved with girls' education in Malawi. I've been familiar with a local nonprofit, Pomoza International, since I was in middle school, but upon doing some research last year on the social conditions in the country, especially for young women, I knew I had to get involved. A few facts caught my eye. In Malawi, one of the top 10 poorest nations in the world, Nearly 50% of girls are married before the age of 18. High rates of HIV and AIDS affect the country, disproportionately affecting women at a ratio of 8 to 1. The average school in Malawi is 3 miles away, a journey students endure by foot every day. And for high school, a student must be accepted and pay tuition to attend. Last year, only one girl in Zawe, Pomosa's main rural community, was selected to go to government high school, which includes board and is the best education to further the endeavors of these young Malawian women. Immediately, I was able to identify a direct correlation between the lack of female education and empowerment and the social issues that plague the nation. I reached out to Temwa Wright, the executive director of Pomosa, and we quickly set up a meeting to discuss my vision. I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to help, but I knew I wanted to do something that would truly benefit these girls in Malawi. I collaborated with many members of the Pomosa team and designed a 2-day leadership conference and established a scholarship fund. The scholarship fund is fairly standard, but the leadership conference is truly what sets this initiative apart, impacting the lives of those who will go to high school, but also those who won't. The conference not only serves to inspire the girls to seek the education they deserve, but also teaches leadership and practical skills to implement within their community. After an initial fundraising campaign last spring, the first conference is set to take place this academic year. This school year's goal is aimed at establishing a scholarship fund, and a lot of fun events are in the works. Thanks to the time, collaboration, and effort put into this Girls Rise initiative, I am confident this will inspire my peers in Malawi, changing the culture in support of female empowerment. Girls Rise has also been so influential in my life. I have fallen in love with the culture of Malawi. The girls are creative and brilliant, and there is no doubt in my mind that given the opportunity, those girls will go on to change their community and the world. Throughout the globe, conditions that marginalize groups of people tend to result in a lack of peace. A familiar example may be the social situation in Iran, in which there is violence against Iranian women seeking gender equality. In Malawi, the educational divide is only perpetuating these societal struggles from within. Through equipping the young women with the tools they need to succeed, they are able to sever the ties of injustice and promote peace and unity from within their community for generations to come. If you leave with only one takeaway today, my advice to you is simply to get involved in a cause that speaks to you. It doesn't have to be big, and it might not even be a fully thought out plan, but the impact you can initiate has the opportunity to be incredible. Don't ever let your age hold you back from creating social change and peace in this world. Thank you.
Wow, I'm blown away. Mackenzie has also re-echoed everybody's comments again. You all have to get involved and make the world a peaceful and more better place. Thank you very much, Mackenzie, for that wonderful presentation. We now turn the floor to a lady and a gentlewoman. Sam and Zita will now make their presentation. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you very much. Today we're going to be speaking on the impact of peace on the next generation. What comes to your mind when you hear the word peace? In our world today, we talk about peace, but we don't celebrate peace or peace advocate as we should. Think about your community for a second. What do you want to see change? I believe everyone is tired of constantly witnessing injustice, inequality, and we all want to see fairness, equity, equality. These can only be if every one of us embraces the peacemaker identity. Through peace, everyone sings one song, speaks one language, and has one heart. All these can lead to unity, and unity eventually leads to us experiencing peace. When there is peace, it means progress, and when there is progress, it means real steps are taken to effect positive change in communities and in the lives of the next generation. Earlier this year, I traveled to a village in the northeast region of Ghana called Sasobigi and helped to implement a literacy program supporting 150 children with books and creative workshops in collaboration with the chiefs and teachers. I was invited to speak with the chiefs of Sasobigi about our literacy project, and while some were in agreement, others saw it as a waste of time, explaining that the children need to focus more on farming as it is the source of livelihood for the village. With these differences, I knew it would be very challenging working with the children without the chief's approval, because peace makes progress, so we could not work with the children effectively if the chiefs were not all singing one song. I took the approach of helping them understand how literacy and agriculture are tied, how the books we offer to the children can mold their writing and communication skills, which could help them in gaining more customers and more investors for the agriculture business. The next day, I received some news. The chiefs were all in agreement and they came on board. When Reagan said something, peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to handle conflict by peaceful means. From disagreement to differences and divisions to one common motive under peaceful means. More and more children in Sasobigi and also a new village in Namiboko are receiving more storybooks.
What, therefore, are the measures we can use in promoting peace? This is where the idea of peace building comes in, which means promoting constructive relationships between people, groups, communities, families, and resolving society issues like injustice without involving violence. Some examples of peace building that will help foster our next generation are firstly, having just relationships. If we genuinely love and care for each other without discrimination of race, tribe, status, this will help eliminate the idea of people retaliating unjust acts of the society that can eventually lead to violence. Secondly, seeing our planet as home. Home is an environment of comfort and relaxation. We must be conscious of the implications our activities have on our brothers and sisters on earth. We must treat everyone with love because that is the language and atmosphere of a home. In that way, there will be few or no people living worried lives. Thirdly, humanitarian assistance. This is a very pertinent point to me as I am a humanitarian myself. And with my personal experience, I have come to the conclusion that the hunger virus is one of the issues that keeps our society destabilized, beginning from personal to family, then to society. A hungry man, they say, is an angry man. And to tell you the truth, no man's mind can be at peace when they are hungry. A child suffering from starvation or malnutrition is tempted to steal first from their parents, and that puts the family in an unpeaceful state because they become a family threat. Then, as he grows, he moves on to stealing from people in the society just to earn a daily bread. This puts the society in worry, danger, and pain. Humanitarian assistance, I think, is one of the greatest measures that can help bring peace to individuals, families, and the society as a whole. And by this, I mean not just by giving them fish, that is donating like food or clothing, but teaching them how to catch fish. That is organizing, like, for example, workshops where they can learn some basic skills which they can use to practice petty trades. And this will help them feed and survive. So I suggest more help and funding should be given to charities or non-governmental organizations for humanitarian assistance and more programs set up to educate civilians on the importance of fair distributions, just relationships, and keeping our planet as a home. Therefore, I leave us with these final words to the change makers, teachers, the community leaders, the religious leaders, leaders of organizations, and public officials. We must be salesmen and women of peace and champion peace as part of our agenda in ensuring that the younger generation has a structure that fuels their growth.
And as a peace agent myself, I will encourage everyone here today to commit to peace and celebrate everybody involved in peacemaking in their respective communities or country as a whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Samuel and Zita, for that wonderful presentation. I wish I could come off the studio and give you guys a round of applause beyond what I'm just doing by smiling to you behind the camera. I want to thank you very sincerely for sharing your thoughts about how we can build peace across the world and all of the work in which you've been doing. As you all know, we have several continents in the world, be it Asia, North America, Europe, South America, Africa, Antarctica, and the Oceania. We can't have this country coexist if we don't have peace in those countries. So I want to re-echo the voice of our panelists today who told us that we all must be involved in advocating for peace in our individual country. That's such a great information from every one of you. We're grateful for your contributions to this conversation. But now I have a few questions and I would like to pose to our panelists, and you all will have an opportunity to share your individual thoughts about my question. My first question is, what is the sustainable development most important goal to you regarding your advocacy to the work you do, and why is that particular goal of the SDG important to you? So I will start with Grace.
So I think forming communities that promote democratic ideals to generate peace, understanding, and tolerance is the most important sustainable development goal in my book. Democratization allows for the expansion of natural rights that develop a more stable, secure environment for citizens. By subscribing to democracy, the people are able to be more at ease in the sense they feel liberated from overbearing control, thus creating a heightened respect. Additionally, it is essential to understand from other perspectives, even if you do not agree. Open-mindedness and tolerance directly allows for cooperation and compromise to take place, contributing to peace since you are taking others into consideration, which is something our contemporary society lacks.
Thank you very much, Grace, for sharing your thoughts on that. I will also pass the same question to Samuel. Samuel, your thoughts on that question?
All right. I'm passionate about SDG goal number 2 and SDG goal number 4. That's zero hunger and quality education. Now, the reason why I'm passionate about zero hunger is because I grew up in a community called Ajibule in Lagos State, Nigeria. And this is one of the impoverished community in Lagos State. And I grew up seeing children going without food, sleeping without food, and the next morning is the same thing. For me, zero hunger is something that is very, very passionate, and talking about it, takes me back as regards to like my childhood and how I saw children coming up to me, asking me for food, kids at the age of 5, at the age of 4, come up to me and ask me that they want to eat something, they want to eat food, they don't have, parents, some of them like run away from home. So that is why when I finished my university, I thought about it and I'm like, okay, I need to start to do something about zero hunger. And when I went back to Nigeria, I thought in 2019, I thought, the story would have changed, but nothing has changed. Children still walk up to me, ask me for food, ask me for money, so that was why I started, collaborating more with organizations to help support children with food and support families too with food. And as regards to education too, I realized that a lot of kids in Ajibule were school dropouts. They were not interested in going to school because they didn't have the right materials or the right resources to stay in school because of how poor their family is. So I took it upon myself to start, like I said, collaborating with other people to support the children with the right resources for them to stay in school, and not just staying in school, but also making education fun, making learning fun. So that is why I'm passionate about zero hunger and then quality education. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel, for your very great work in which you're doing in advocating these two goals. Now I'll pass it on to Maurice.
I have to say that this is a really difficult question to answer. And I have to say 2 goals as well. But particularly goal number 11, to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable, because that's the whole mission of the Antarctic Youth Coalition that I take part from. And we believe that if we can make these entrances and take these values of the Antarctic cities into every city in the world to make it more sustainable, safe, resilient, and inclusive. That everything will go well and the peace will be in everywhere in the world. But also, as a marine biology student, I have to also mention goal for the 14th goal to protect marine sea life, because I believe that that goal encapsulates other goals as well. I believe that if we protect the sea, we can make better cities more sustainable. We can, and really to complete every other goal that the UN promotes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mauricio, for that, your thoughts on advancing goal number 11. Now I'll pass it on to Mackenzie.
Hi, so I definitely say that the goal that's most important to me is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. All throughout the world, you can really find instances where lack of education leads to lack of peace. And it really is just so important. And so it's such a sustainable goal that when you educate your youth and you bring them up with the confidence and with the skills in and beyond the classroom, that really helps equip not only the students, but the community to succeed. And so that's just really important to me through my journey. It's important to me in helping the girls in Malawi to rise up and really change the culture within Malawi. It's important here, even in the United States. It's really important just all throughout the world to make sure that all students, young and old, receive the quality education they deserve, because we really are all lifelong learners.
Thank you so much, Mackenzie, for advancing the goal of quality and equitable education. Now I'll pass it on to Zita, the last but not the least. Tell us about your work.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to say one of the goals that is really passionate for me will be zero hunger, because like it's the bottom line of like everything. Like a hungry man's mind is already unstable, and people cannot study, people cannot have quality education in an environment that has hunger. So like it's easy to take for granted like the basic daily functions like eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner that have such a critical impact on our ability to function physically and intellectually. The amount, availability, and quality of food all affects children's health as well as their brain development. And research indicates that food insecure children are almost twice as likely to be in fair or poor health when compared to food secure children, and are significantly more likely to be hospitalized either due to lack of food or poor feeding. So that is why one of the goals of um, the organization I work with, Smiles Africa, is to like provide nutrition for these people who are in lack. And that's why we go as far as partnering with other organizations to see that this dream or this vision is being achieved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zita, for sharing about your work you're doing with the SDGs and also that of your organization. Then I'll turn to the final question. What advice or best practices would you like to share with youth and young adults who want to take small steps towards peace building in their communities or globally? So Zita, you would start from here and I'll close it up with Grace. Yes, Zita?
Okay. I'll say like be the peace you want to implement, like demonstrate peaceful acts of kindness daily, be an advocate for human rights and against violence in any form, stand for justice and promote equity over equality. And by this, I mean like recognizing that different people have different circumstances or needs and offer varying levels of support or assistance depending on their level of need. And finally, I'll say anywhere you find yourself, foster peace education in order to promote like values, attitudes, and behaviors of non-violent conflict resolutions and dialogues. Thank you.
Thank Thank you so much, Zita, for your thoughts on that. I'll now pass it on to Mackenzie.
Hi, so my one piece of advice kind of comes with a little bit of a personal anecdote. I was on a podcast once, and it's a new startup podcast, and two men were running it, and we're working out the kinks, we're working out what works and what doesn't. And I remember we were talking, and someone in the room asked, well, why would you start the podcast now? Why wouldn't you wait until you figured out how long you want it to be, or what each of the first 20 episodes are going to be about, and all this X, Y, and Z? And he really said something that stuck with me, and that was, if you wait till everything's perfect till you get started, you're never going to get started. So my one piece of advice really is just to jump in, get your feet wet, and get started. It doesn't matter how much you know, how much you think you know, how much you think you don't know. Once you jump in and show your passion for getting involved and really just making a difference, you will find the people that will help you get there. And the more you get involved, the more you'll grow and the more your vision will adapt. But you really can't do anything while you're waiting for all those pieces to fall into place. So really just get started. That's the hardest step. Once you do that, you're gold.
Thank you so much, Mackenzie, for that. And I'll pass it on to Mauricio.
Well, I know I've said it many times, but it has to be to learn and to teach about Antarctica. But not only that, but not to be disencouraged. I don't know what's the word, but not to take back if you think that you are doing little action. Just start in groups that are close to you, maybe with your family, and take it to other levels. I believe that in a perfect world, they don't have to be like peace leaders in some way, because everyone is making the little peacemaking and peace building everywhere. So if everyone does a little job in order to make the world a better place, that's the way that the world is going to be better for everyone involved.
Thank you so much, Mauricio, for that. And I will now pass it on to Samuel.
Okay, my advice to everybody is we need to remember that peace starts internally. You can't give peace if you don't have peace. And when I think about the statement, what comes to my mind, or the names of people that comes to my mind, is Martin Luther King, Kwame Nkrumah, Steve Biko, Thomas Sankara, Mother Teresa. The name goes on. Like, all these amazing people had a strong message, but their delivery was peaceful. And we should also remember that peace is also energy. So wherever you find yourself, wherever you travel to in the world, you need to make sure that you carry a peaceful energy with you, because it is through that peaceful energy that you can really, really affect change in wherever community that you want to see, to implement your ideas or your strategy for change. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Samuel, for that. Then I'll pass it on to Grace.
So I think the best advice I have is to educate yourself. By educating yourself on pressing domestic and international issues, you become more aware about the changing world around you, while also taking multiple perspectives into consideration. And using your voice, no matter how quiet or loud, is a step in the right direction. Many are timid and afraid to speak on pressing matters that they deem important. But don't be like them, but rather speak and develop whatever platform you can to advocate, whether that is through lobbying, peaceful protests, whatever, to just get your voice out there. And even networking or finding people that will want your opinion is a step in the right direction. Moreover, any action is better than no action.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, all panelists. As you have listened to Zita has encouraged us to be the peace you want to implement, and asked us to also stand for justice. While Mackenzie has told us, just jump in, get started. Don't wait until everything is sorted out before you get started. And Mauricio told us, do not be discouraged by the little effort in which you're doing. Continue to do what you're doing. And Samuel told us, peace starts internally. You have to be the peace yourself before you can advocate for peace externally. And Grace has also told us we need to educate ourselves for us to be equipped about issues happening domestically and internationally before you can advocate for peace and peaceful coexistence among people. Today, ladies and gentlemen, viewers who've been watching this conversation from home, we've had a very informative and robust session on peace building. Please join me in giving our panelists a round of applause for sharing their thoughts and their work on what they're doing to building a peaceful and to build a peaceful community and world. Thank you all so much for coming. I appreciate you. To our panelists and our audience, we would like to extend our gratitude to you for joining us for such an important discussion. We hope that each day and each one of you, what you've gained today, you would be able to put it into practice, enhance peace within local and international perspectives, and to ensure that you are inspired to do your part in creating a better planet. As we depart, I want you to take a bit of encouragement with you on your journey. Remember, you do not have to wait until tomorrow to make a difference. We have the ability to take small steps and have great impact as leaders of today. I also want to thank the Community Enrichment Project for putting together this event, and I do hope we all have had a wonderful conversation today. Thank you for your participation in this dialogue, and do have a wonderful evening, afternoon, or morning, whatever you're joining us from. Thank you.